If you're a business impacted by the virus, call and let the Wiregrass know what you are doing to continue safely providing your services or goods. And if you're a parent working hard to take care of your family, we'd love to hear how you are coping. Remember, only the facts, no hearsay or rumors, and we're trying to keep things positive. Our number is 334-699-1053, or you can join us on YouTube Live, and you can chat throughout the program. And it is Wiregrass Strong for a Wednesday afternoon. I do believe it is Wednesday. I'm starting to lose track of my days. Wiregrass Strong is brought to you as a public service of Knights Wrecker Service, 899-3257. Knights Wrecker Service in Ashford, Dothan, and Headland. They can get to you really fast. Great guys and gals, good equipment. If you need them, call them. You don't want to be broke down now. We are broadcasting on all four of our FM properties, WESP, WECB, WJRL Dothan, and WBBK Blakely Dothan. Also streaming live on Facebook at B1053 and on YouTube on the Wiregrass Radio channel. And we also always like to thank our media partners, News 4 and WRGX, for helping us out, and we'll be turning to them quite often tomorrow to assist in the coverage of the possible storms. And that's what we're going to do today. We are going to take a breather from COVID-19 because you've probably been inundated and swarmed with news about COVID-19. But something that we do need to talk about in light of what happened Monday morning early in the communities of Newville and Tumbleton and Browns Crossroads, and is talk about some weather that is impending, and it could be headed our way in the Wiregrass area. Just needs that information. On the panel with me today, I'd like to welcome Chris Judah, Dothan Houston County EMA Director. Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Also on the panel with us is Evan Chickvara. You'll recognize him from the Forewarned Storm Center, News 4, WRGX. Evan, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you all reaching out to me. Thank you.
And also here with us, come on in here, Dave. There he is, Dave Storm Chaser Gilligan. How are you, Dave? I'm going to have to work on Dave's microphone. I can't hear Dave, but make sure you turn that mic pod up. You got to slide the mic pod up there, Dave.
Very good.
There you go.
I got you now.
All right, we can hear him. Okay.
Yeah.
Dave is half of the Pollard and Dave Morning Show on B1053 here in the Wiregrass, and tomorrow morning they will also be in storm mode. So let's go ahead and just open up the conversation. We got about 30 folks, 35, 36 folks watching on Facebook Live, and good number over there on YouTube Live as well, and on our FM properties. So this is always important information. Weather is a big deal around here. We are not really, I don't know, Evan, are we in the tornado alley? I always thought that was Oklahoma in that area.
Well, it seems that would be the bullseye when you look at any sort of climatology. But lately here, especially the last week and a half, man, it seems like we've had a bullseye over us here in Southeast Alabama, which is why it's so important that we're talking about this now. You know, that Easter Sunday event, obviously it was an overnight event. We had another one this past Sunday night, ironically, right around the same time window. And while we may not be in Tornado Alley, we certainly have the potential to see, these strong storms. And really, we want everyone to be prepared as possible. And that's really why we're reaching out here tonight, is to, let everybody know, hey, we do have a threat of severe weather tomorrow. And this time, here we are. It's during the day. If there's ever a good time for severe weather, it's when the sun's out. It's when folks are awake. And, if there's one thing COVID's done, it's put a lot of people at home where they can be with their families and stay safe.
Thank you, Evan. Chris, I don't know. You guys have been very busy over the past couple of weeks for the very same reason in the EMA, dealing with the aftermath. But tell us a little bit about preparation. How is your department preparing for tomorrow?
Well, we just, as always, we want to get information out as we get it. We want to make sure that people have a plan in place. And if they have that plan already prepared, they can just pull it off the shelf and put it into effect. We want people to be responsive rather than reactive. So the main thing is to get accurate information out to people and have them prepared for tomorrow. We have been very busy. Obviously, the counties around us got hit pretty hard. I was in Henry County today, assisting them with some things. And, until you get up there and you see the devastation that this causes and the things like that, you don't take it very seriously. You really don't. But once you see that, you must put a plan together. So that's it. We're asking people to be prepared. Stay in tune with WTVY. Evan and David, they do a fantastic job. Make sure that they stay up to date with the weather. We know it's coming tomorrow. So now's the time to prepare. And just like Evan said, a lot of people are at home already. You don't have to be on the road tomorrow. Don't be on the road tomorrow. With the rains coming and the high winds, things of that nature. And if you're at home, go ahead and maybe get something good to eat tonight, some snacks, some water, and settle in tomorrow.
Very good idea. Savannah Clark and Megan Hartzog, good to see y'all online. Megan says they're building a storm shelter, and Susanna says, save room for me. Dave?
Well, guys, I've lived in the Wiregrass for the better part of 40 years. And my question is, are these new, or is the technology now just identifying what we used to think were spring storms?
That's a kind of a loaded question there, Dave, but a good one at that. One of the things that has kind of helped us and also been an Achilles heel is technology and our ability to see these things coming. Not to date myself, but back, some of my mentors and meteorologists in the past, they didn't have all this technology to look at. And the most important thing is that we look at it and not necessarily overreact, but react properly to them. And I will say, I look back at this last April, a year ago from now, and as a lot of farmers know out there, we were very, very dry. We didn't have our typical severe weather season. I believe most of our severe weather events took place in February as well as March. But from what we've looked at, our weather pattern that's been here really in place since March, when we were setting these record highs, hasn't changed. And it's really given us a chance to see some stronger storms. So with that being said, what we've been looking at, and I touched base with Chief Meteorologist David Paul here not but about 45 minutes ago, and it looks like tomorrow we could be looking at the chance for some storms, not only late morning but again in the afternoon, so maybe a two-round event. So while it's important to have the technology, it's also important for it to be communicated in a way that doesn't cause people to freak out, but also gives the folks at home something to keep in the back of their mind
Comfort.
or in the forefront, and be prepared.
Well, I guess my question is, the technology now lets us know what these storms that we maybe used to think were springtime weather, but now we've got the technology, and thanks to Evan being able to use it and Chris being able to implement it, I think we're in a very good position.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think with tomorrow, we work hand in hand. It's been really nice working with EMA, and Chris has been a huge part of that, direct line to the Weather Center. And to me personally, when we talk about this, I've been looking at some of the damage reports over in Louisiana and Arkansas, as well as Texas today. And, there's been some strong storms, but it looks like tomorrow we will have the ability, the atmosphere is going to be primed for the chance for some strong storms. And, if you're here locally in the Wiregrass, we're looking at that beginning maybe late morning into early afternoon. And, that Sunday event, those winds they were something. They came howling in. That sun line came howling in. And we are looking at that again with all the different features we have to look at. It looks like tomorrow we could be looking at a widespread threat for severe weather. Now, unfortunately, the one thing we can't do is pinpoint, hey, if you live in Ashford on Walnut Court, we can't tell you exactly where that's going to be, but definitely looks like tomorrow from late morning to early afternoon, we will be looking at the chance for some strong storms, and you can certainly be assured that we will be full staffed in the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist David Paul, myself, Zach Webster. We're obviously, some of us are in quarantine, but we will be following this and obviously communicating with Chris there over at the EMA.
And our guest today is Chris Judah, Dothan-Houston County EMA Director, and Evan Chickvara, Forewarned Storm Center News 4 WRGX. Evan, a question for you. The storms that came up Easter Sunday, you were somewhat hindered by the lack of one radar over at Fort Rucker. Has that been taken care of?
It appears so. Our news director spoke with the director. I'm not sure his full name, but talked with him today on the phone. And it does appear that they've done what's needed to keep the radar up. And it actually is, for anyone out there who works at Fort Rucker and might think otherwise, it's a very robust radar. What happened was it looked like there was a bit of a technology short, so that the data feed was the issue there. But it looks like that's up and running. Tallahassee's up and running. And we should be able to have full coverage, which is a huge, huge benefit, not only to us, but our ability to communicate with everybody out there. So as of now, it looks like things are all green, all good to go.
Good. That's awesome. Chris, how about staging? Do y'all do any preparation as far as staging personnel for something like this?
Oh, absolutely. Usually, well, most of the time in a situation like this that we know is coming, or if we have a warning or whatnot, our EOC Emergency Operations Center would actually be fully staffed and we would have it activated. But the problem with that is with the virus and the quarantines, we've had to limit that. So we're actually activated virtually. But yeah, we do stage. We are in constant contact with our public safety, police, fire, EMS, and all of the individuals that are out there, that public utilities. And a lot of people don't realize that we, when you talk about power companies, they're first responders too. They're right on the scene. So we're in contact with all of them, and we rely heavily on Evan and David and WTVY. And National Weather Service does a great job bringing information in. Evan and David do a fantastic job localizing it. And just like he was talking about, sometimes you can't pinpoint it to Ashford or whatnot, but it gives us what we need to make sure our resources are staged in the right areas.
That's good to know. I'm glad that we've got such a great team here in the Wiregrass to keep the information flowing and the storms at bay, so to speak. When everybody's on top of everything, everybody tends to be safer. And like you say, we're quarantined right now. Is there any special precautions, guys, that you can think of now that we are sheltered in? It's not so easy to get supplies, but is there some just top of mind stuff that if anything comes barreling towards us that we should just do immediately?
Well, the one thing that I can portray is I spoke with a family, actually somebody related with our staff this past Sunday. What happened was those winds, as you saw up in Pike County and Barber County, they were between 70 and 80 miles an hour. Well, the family decided to, at the last minute, try to seek shelter in a brick home. They were in a double-wide mobile home. And as you know, they're basically nature's kite after a trampoline when it comes to these strong winds. And unfortunately, as they were trying to, get somewhere safe right before the storm, they actually had a car accident, ran into a tree, and were stranded up there in Brundage. And I know that's kind of on the fringe of the Wiregrass, but we are looking at the same sort of thing. So if you do live in a double wide, and again, I'm not trying to spread any sort of widespread panic. We've been through a scenario like this before, where you have the chance for these straight line winds, you have the chance for these tornadoes to develop within a line. If you at all have any sort of caution or poise by mid morning, if you have a relative, say a mother-in-law, some cousins around town that maybe have a more sturdy place. I know sometimes churches open. I don't have a list of those right now. But if there's somewhere you can go and you have kids and you want to be safer, the time to act is early. It's not as things are happening, because as you can see, as I saw in that particular instance, that led to a worsening scenario. And it does look like there will not be a specific area targeted tomorrow. it could be widespread across not only southeast Alabama, but as well as into the North Florida Panhandle and into Georgia as well.
Evan, the storm of this past Sunday, both Dave and I on Sunday evening, we were monitoring some pretty robust satellite, some radar imagery that we have here at the station. And we're probably looking at some of the same radar stations that you look at. And it kept looking like it was north. It just looked like it was north of Troy, the Montgomery area, and it was pushing across. And then just all of a sudden, that thing was fast. It was like here on us. So it must have been a tail end back there that came across our area. And my question is, I'm from the Hillburg community, Browns Crossroads, Tumbleton, that whole area over there. Obviously got hit very, very hard, and I've spent a couple of days over there with some families cleaning up. But did they ever determine if it was a tornado or straight line winds?
So the National Weather Service and I sent a message today out to Mark Wool, who's one of the directors over there at the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, and because their site is a good ways away, and they actually cover a really big area. A lot of people don't know we're actually covered by 3 forecast offices. Birmingham is our northern 3 counties, Crenshaw, Pike, Barber. Our western counties, Covington, down to the Florida Panhandle is Mobile, and then the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. From what I gathered, and again, I have not seen the updated info, but it did look like there was a very suspicious threat suspicious thought, rather, that there was a tornado that moved through Henry County. Now, whether that was on the ground for a short time or not is not the question. It's, you can get that damage, whether it's long-term, short-term. It could drop down for, what we've seen here on the north side of Dothan, it's been down for 2 miles, and, that'll knock down the power. So I'm not 100% Ricky on that final damage report, as they were going to survey that today, and so their findings may come out. But suffice it to say, we could see more of the same tomorrow. And I personally went out to Bob Hall Road, which is down on the west side of Dothan there, if you're headed towards Slocum, and the damage was pretty surreal. And I can tell you, whether it's straight line winds or a tornado, some of the stories I heard there from the family there on Bob Hall that had their house damaged, I mean, tornado or not, you got to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Guys, we're going to get a lot of rain with this storm. Sorry about that, Ricky, but we're going to get a lot of rain with this storm. I heard 1 to 2 inches is what we're expecting with this storm. Is that going to affect storm damage? Does soften the ground, make it easier for trees and poles to come down?
So the one positive about that, I know it sounds kind of weird to say, but this line, you guys were kind of alluding to how quickly it became upon us. That line moved at times 55 to 60 miles an hour, and we're looking at a potential similar scenario tomorrow, where once this line forms, before it forms, you might have these isolated pockets of rain that come out, and yeah, we'll get some pretty decent rain. But once this thing accelerates, there's going to be some pouring, blinding rain with it, where you do not want to be on the road. But because of how quickly it's going to be moving through, where I'd be most concerned, Geneva County's got a lot of dirt roads. We could see some washout there. Jackson County as well, I believe 850 dirt roads at last count. There's a lot of dirt roads there. Anywhere where you have a dirt road or you rely on that to maybe leave your home, if you are still one of those folks who are going out and working, that could be an issue tomorrow. But there's going to be a lot of rain in a short amount of time. I am hopeful, though, with the speed of this line, as it does look to be very, very rapid, which is good and bad in a sense. It means it comes upon you quickly, but it also doesn't have the opportunity to, cause major flooding. That will certainly be a factor in tomorrow's storms.
Chris, Robert Shuford says hello, and I have a question for you, Chris. Sort of setting the stage and preparing for an event that could occur tomorrow. I know that if the power goes out, the EMA is not the office to call. If that's the kind of issue folks have, then they should contact the power or utility company or something like that. But what kind of issues might arise where they need to contact you so you can put a team in process on something?
Well, we're also in the communications building that is adjacent to both the 911 center for the city and the county. So if people do have calls about power outages, they need to call the hotline for the power company, the 1-800 lines for the power companies to let them know. And a lot of that information is piped over to the communication center, and we're in constant contact with them the entire 24 hours a day. So one thing I would ask, though, is that they would reserve 911 for emergency calls. If it is a true emergency, use 911. If it's something else, call the landline numbers, 615-3000, and it'll put you, it'll direct you as to where to go for the city, and they can direct you. But if you do have a power outage or something of that nature, call the power companies. If they have damage, severe damage, or anything of that nature, they can certainly call the EMA office and let us know that. But if they're in need of emergency services because of damage, lightning to a home, structure fire, a tree on a home, someone's in trap, go ahead and call the fire department and let them know. They're going to be in direct contact with us, and then we're going to put those resources into play.
Great information. Excellent information from both Chris and Evan today, and all the folks on YouTube and on Facebook are chiming in, giving you guys a big thumbs up. This half hour is brought to you by Knight's Wrecker Service. Big or small, they do it all. 899-3257, Ashford, Dothan, and Headland, to get to you really, really fast. Our guest today, Chris Judah, the Dothan Houston County EMA Director, and Evan Chickvara from the Forewarned Storm Center at News 4 WRGX, and him and David Paul and Zach Webster are going to be busy folks tomorrow. I know you are. So what kind of I know that I've got to ask you this question. I don't know if the old radar on top of the Charles Woods building is still functional. I don't think y'all use that anymore, do you, Evan?
I tell you what, I know our chief engineer very well, Tom Johnson, and I can tell you there's probably more energy allotted to start that old radar up to give us a scan every about 15 minutes than to run the whole building in and of itself. To put it plainly, it's a very old Doppler radar. It's one of the first ones, or one of the old WR99s from back in the 1990s. And not to say that it doesn't have its perks, it's still going to give you your data, but it's not one of those live feeds we use. We are hoping, though, with any luck, that the Fort Rucker connection stays with us. Like I said, our news director spoke with one of the technicians out there and said that their radar is good to go, and it could be as simple as just making sure that we get that data necessary throughout the day tomorrow, which we're very hopeful for. Obviously, Mother Nature has other plans sometimes. Lightning strikes, gusts of wind. But I do feel pretty good. But as far as that big bulb on the top of the WTVY building, it's been resting here for the last about year plus.
It is a landmark. And speaking of Mother Nature, Dave knows we've been dealing with a rattlesnake. No, it wasn't a rattlesnake. It was a rat snake.
No, it was a rat snake.
Rat snake in the transmitter. That would have been the Easter storm that blew through, and he preceded the storm. He must have known something was up, crawled right in the transmitter. Yeah, it was like 5 minutes before the storm hit. Bang! He takes the transmitter down. So we all have things to deal with. Chris is going to have all his crews working overtime tomorrow, I'm sure. And the best thing about information like this is to have the information, be prepared, and expect the worst, but pray for the best. And I don't think, even if we don't get a direct hit here in the immediate area, this is a bad storm, and it's going to cause problems wherever it passes on its way to the Atlantic. So I'm amazed at the speed of this thing. That was what amazed us, both me and Dave, on Sunday evening. It was like on us in no time.
Yeah, same deal. And if I have a chance here real quick, I just want to kind of break down that, again, we saw that storm go from a timing of, over the weekend, from being maybe like a 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. to, heck, the 10 o'clock ended. I was watching it. I woke up from a nap, saw it coming into our western counties. I thought, yeah, I better go up to work. And that thing was going 55 plus the entire way. And that very well could happen tomorrow. For any of you watching who live here locally in the Wiregrass, Houston, Henry, Dale, Coffee, even down in the Florida Panhandle and into Georgia, know this: the severe weather is not necessarily going to impact you in your backyard, but it very well could impact your neighbor right down the road, or it could impact your community. And what we're looking at is a timeline from sometime mid to late morning that could feature some really, really gusty winds. So my advice would be to, hey, if you've got some pots on the porch, if you've got some chairs, some relaxing chairs out there, I'm sure you're not going to be using those tomorrow. It's not a great day, so you're probably going to be lounging on the porch. Go ahead and bring in anything that might be a fly risk. Another thing that people don't think about sometimes, and I wouldn't either, garbage cans. You got them sitting at the end of the street. You might be chasing those a block over, with these winds coming on through here. And trampolines, hopefully you got it anchored down. If not, you're going to be chasing down, Joe Schmo down the street saying, hey, sorry, that's my trampoline behind you.
Tornado frisbees. Yeah,
exactly. But just be prepared. If you have a chance, download an app. The Red Cross app is phenomenal. That thing will get your attention. We also have a forewarn weather app that we'll try to be updating here throughout the day.
And Chris, on the Dothan-Houston County EMA website, let me just go ahead and get that website, pass it along to you folks. It is the Dothan-Houston-County-EMA.com. Simply go, is it .com? Let me make certain.
It's .org.
.org, correct. Okay, .org. So it's Dothan-Houston-County-EMA.org. And I went on there and downloaded a great app. Let me just bring that up here. That code red emergency alerts for your phone. You can never have too many apps on your phone to alert you, whether it's the EAS alert system, whether it's the Forewarn WTVY News 4 alert system, whatever you can get on your phone. What is that other app you just mentioned, Evan?
The Red Cross app. It's a free app, an Android as well as Apple Store, and you'll get that, and that's going to let you know. It's very obnoxious. I've heard it before, and you know what? If you get that warning and it's not for your backyard, you'll be glad to at least have heard it rather than it being, something you don't hear and it is in your backyard. So grab that. It's a free app, and again, we're not affiliated with them at all, but I know in the past the Red Cross app is a good one. It's very much helpful, I think, to folks in the community.
Well, as an engineer, I had to go out and check a bunch of transmitters and antennas, tower sites and things Monday following the mayhem over in Henry County. And it looked to me, and this is just a layman's approach, it looked to me like it came through Newville and came right across Tumbleton. The Balcom community was headed right for Hellberg, kind of a line through there, at least that part of the storm. And we had some friends in the Balcom community, and they said they had News 4, they had the sirens going off, and they had their phones going off, and a large tree fell on their house. So they were well prepared. I can tell you that Tom, the engineer, chief engineer at News 4, has been testing the generators today, and we are fortunate enough to be in the very same building on the very same circuits. So tomorrow, you will have News 4 and WRGX covering the weather with a team of Evan Chickvara, David Paul, and Zach Webster. And you'll have Dave down here in the lower right-hand, left-hand corner from where you guys are. He and Amy will also be covering the weather. And from time to time, they will be cutting in on the important information that you will find on News 4, our media partners downstairs, because it's all about information. The more information you can get.
Look, we lean on Evan Chickvara more than he will ever know.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate that, guys. Just trying to make sure everybody stays safe, of course, and get out as much info as possible.
All right, we have wrapped up 30 minutes. It goes by fast when the information flows, and if there is anyone who has some questions for you, Chris, Mr. Chris Judah, the director of the Dothan-Houston County EMA, how can they get in contact with you, Chris? I know there's a Facebook page. I know there's a website. Do you have a phone number over there? And there goes Chris, technology. He was probably reaching for his phone. What is our number? I've checked my phone. So maybe he'll come.
Oh, there he is. Fort Rucker again, KEOX. Isn't that what it is? KEOX?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's Fort Rucker.
Yeah.
Your phone number blow up all at the same time? Are you
Yeah,
guys
go
still
ahead
there?
go ahead with the phone number there, Chris.
I'm sorry about that. My apparently everybody in town tried to call me at the same time. So
I
when
hear
you
you.
ask for that number. But they can reach the EMA office at 334-794-9720. If they need us, they can also call the Dothan Police Department or Houston County Sheriff's Department. They can transfer over since we're in the same building here. They can also reach us there on our webpage. There is a contact us way that they can send an email, and it sends it directly to me. And we'd be more than happy to get right back to them. If they need us, they can call us anytime. And I don't mind. I'm more than happy to give my cell phone number out because that's what I do. It's 796-5358. And anyone that needs me for anything 24 hours a day, I'm ready to go.
Thank you so much, Chris. Chris Judah, he is the director of the Dothan Houston County EMA. And again, let's prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And thank you so much for being with us today, Chris. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Evan. We really appreciate what you and David do. Y'all do a fantastic job. And all our media
Thank y'all. It's a team effort. We love it.
And right there, center screen, that is Evan Chickvara from the News 4 WRGX Forewarned Storm Center. And do go over to that website, DothanHoustonCountyEMA.org. And like I said, you can never have too many apps on your phone. It's called Code Red. And then the Red Cross that Evan recommended. And also tell them how they can get the News 4 weather app.
If you go to the App Store, whether I have Google Play, I'm not a Apple guy myself. Don't have any sort of preference here. Just saying it's available in both. If you go to Forewarn weather app, you'll see it come up. It's I was about to reach for my phone and show you the icon. Obviously, I'm using that right now. But it's going to be the number 4. There's a lightning bolt through it. It's a free app. Once you download it, you can select your location. And it's going to ask you some questions. Do you want notifications for severe weather? Obviously, if you hit yes, you'll get those notifications. If you hit no, that's fine. It asks you several questions, but it's very, very quick. In a matter of a minute, you can be all set up. So it will also put out videos there. We're going to have a full staff tomorrow. So while we're on air, and this is for all future events as well, you're going to get some information daily, hour by hour forecasts, as well as videos to help you prepare.
Speaking of videos, let's throw this one back up real quick and talk once again before we leave today about the timeline of this storm. What do y'all expect?
All right, so the timeline, as you may have seen from last weekend, it can be a very fluid situation, and I can assure you we're doing our best to try to pinpoint it, but sometimes these storms really accelerate. We're looking at a mid to late morning in our western counties, and this could be moving through in 2 waves, one that comes through mid to late morning, another that comes through as late as 5 o'clock. We do have a tornado threat here, and based on the profile of the atmosphere, these could be stronger tornadoes. So as I mentioned earlier, if you do have relatives, friends that have maybe a more sturdy structure, if you live in maybe a trailer or somewhere out in the country where those winds come in unopposed, now's the time to kind of plan ahead. And of course, we'll have those damaging straight line winds. That is something I'm more certain of than the tornado threat. And hey, if you got a garden and you miss the winds, you're going to get some pretty good rain out of this. That's for sure.
There you go. Dave?
I'm glad Evan's with us today, and I wish we had just a little more time. I'd love to know the science behind the storm, what's causing the front, what causes the winds and all that. I'm sure that would be fascinating to listen
Maybe
to.
we can get Evan on some other time between storms, and we can talk about the dynamics of weather, because that whole coefficient thing where you show the debris in the air, that is extremely fascinating to me. I just
same.
Well, if you ever don't want me to shut up, ask me about the dynamics or the science behind it, because trust me, us weather nerds, we can go in circles about that. It's a lot of fun.
We'll get you on, because there's 3 nerds on the screen right now, and we'd all love to know it.
Well,
Evan, thank you so much for being with us today, and God bless you guys. And we'll look for Evan and David and Zach tomorrow to give us the coverage. And thank you for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Everyone, be safe.
All right. There you have it, Dave. Tomorrow morning, Pollard and Dave, I think Mimi's going to be back.
Mimi will be back tomorrow, and like Evan's been saying, along with Chris Jude, it's going to be a long day tomorrow weather-wise, so let's be on our best behavior. Let's not get out and about if we don't have to. I love the idea that tying stuff down, make sure your patio furniture is not out, make sure that your wheelbarrow's put up, that kind of stuff, because it can get picked up and really do some damage.
Absolutely. And check out Pollard and Dave tomorrow morning. Are you changing the name of the show to Mimi and Dave?
I'm going to let the boss decide.
Dave, thank you so much for being with us today. We certainly appreciate it.
You're welcome, Ricky. Thank you.
All right, folks, until tomorrow at 5 o'clock, when I hope all of this will be behind us. Don't forget to check out Pollard and Dave tomorrow morning beginning at 6 a.m., and they'll be here as long as it takes for storm coverage. From time to time, breaking in with the News 4 WRGX Forewarned Storm Center, Evan Chickvara, David Paul, and Zach Webster to keep you informed on all 4 of our radio properties here. And it's important that, especially after what happened and the loss of life on Sunday evening, Monday morning, that we be prepared. So we thank you for being with us here today on Wiregrass Strong. Tomorrow we'll probably be talking COVID-19 again as it affects our Houston County school system. I do believe David Sewell, the superintendent, will be with us tomorrow. So let's hope that show is okay and we're not in the midst of some situations tomorrow, okay? This half hour brought to you as a public service of Knights Wrecker Service, 899-3257. And we thank them so much for allowing us this time to bring you this public service. And now we're going to return you to your normal programming.